I'm Jordan, and today we have Coach Lindsey here with Fitness Sports, and today we're going to talk about winter running. So, Lindsey, how's your winter running going?
Oh, well, I think I have a little bit of an adjustment to make. Spent a little time in some warmer climates, and we had some great weather last weekend. So just trying to slowly acclimate myself to the cooler temperatures.
Should I guess say you are here in Iowa, which is definitely a lot colder than some other parts of the United States.
Yeah, I think we're running around upper 20s this week, so a little chilly, but nothing that running can't handle.
Yeah, how often are you getting out right now in the cold weather and running?
Oh, like 3 to 5 times a week, nothing too crazy. Just trying to get my body acclimated before I go all in.
Yeah. What are some of those things you do to acclimate to the cold weather and running?
Yeah, so first off, I like to set my home temperature a little bit cooler. So I keep it usually around 66, 67, sleeping and awake time. So that helps my body get a little more used to cooler temperatures, but also just dressing appropriately, of course. So gloves, ear warmers. I actually forgot my ear warmer for my run early this morning, and it was so cold I thought my ears were going to fall off. So definitely recommend having proper gear.
Yeah, I know that's one of the questions we get in our stores, Fitness Sports, is just what do I wear when I go out for these runs? What do I need to put on, and how many layers to wear to stay warm but not get too hot and sweaty? What's your thoughts? Where do you start with when you get in your running gear?
So usually I like to make it where I'm a little chilly the first mile. It takes me a little bit of time to get warmed up. If I'm starting, with a group of friends outside, I'm probably shivering before we start, and just like to have that cooler body temperature to start with. But the goal is to be a little sweaty and warm by the end. So usually I plan for about 20 to 25 degrees warmer than what the actual temperature is. So if it's 30, I'm going to wear clothes that I would wear if it were about 50 to 55 and I were just going to be casually, hanging out outside and not running. So typically your body temperature is going to increase that 20 to 25 degree temperature feel just from your core temperature.
I know when I'm always running in the wintertime, I'm like wanting to take things off halfway through and stuff. But if you got to take too much stuff off, you got too much to carry around you when you got to run the rest of the way back. Does it differ if you're running like your long run and going farther, or like a short recovery run? How much you wear?
Yeah, so of course, the longer you run, the more your body temperature is going to increase. Your homeostasis is going to be more difficult for your body to establish. So, the longer you're going, the more layers you're going to want to shed as you go. But the most important thing is avoiding high friction and high heat materials. So, things like cotton that are going to trap in that warmth, and sticking with things like polyester, nylon, spandex that will give you the opportunity to wick away sweat and keep your temperature more even and stable versus that really vast contrast of cold when you start and really hot when you get done.
Yeah, yeah. When we're here in Iowa and it's not really snowed too much yet, but do you make
No.
adjustments when it's snowing? How much to run, or how how bad it has to be outside for you to run inside, or skip your run, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it depends on every person. So, of course, if you tend to be a little bit more clumsy, you might want to, err on the side of the treadmill a little bit sooner. But, one of my recommendations is to take your training plan from a mileage based training plan to a time based training plan. A lot of times, if it's really bitterly cold or if there is snow and ice involved, adjusting your training plan to be minute based can be helpful because your pace is going to slow significantly usually. So, and just not trying to pressure yourself into hitting a goal mileage, but rather just time on your feet, heart rate elevated time, and focusing more on that because that can be pretty difficult to establish when you're slipping and sliding all over the place.
But what if your watch is at like 0.89 miles? Then what do you do?
Stop being so type A and let it go. Or, sometimes in the winter, I just don't run with a smartwatch and I will go on time. I look at what time I leave my house and I look at what time I come back and I just use that as a gauge. Or a lot of smartwatches do have just a timer function. So rather than loading GPS and doing that whole gambit, you can just do a timer and see how long you've run and give yourself that freedom to run as slow as you need to be safe and cautious.
As winters comes, we have a lot less daylight. I know. I feel like with our kids, we do not see them get to play outside as much because it's dark so quick. So how do you adjust for running with that as far as running in the dark or dusk hours more often?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's a safety factor. So, planning your route ahead of time for areas that are well lit. You know, investing in the proper gear, chest or abdomen lights tend to work really well. They tend to bounce a little bit less than a headlight. So I do tend to like those a little bit better in terms of actual visibility. But establishing proper gear that's going to have reflectivity is always a good idea. And then just sticking with safe trails or sidewalks where you know you're not going to be crossing busy traffic or areas that you could potentially be in harm's way in terms of people not seeing you.
I know one thing is just running with people. I know for us as a running store, owning running stores, we try to put on a lot of local runs. So that's another way.
Yeah, of course, running with a group has a lot of benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Safety being a factor, but
Mm-hmm.
of course, pace control and just the social aspect can be really helpful for most people, myself included. I'm definitely a social runner.
People have different motivations for running, or a lot of people struggle with motivation of running in the winter when it's colder and stuff. I know personally for me, it's easier for the run in the winter because our running stores slow down. There's less races we're putting on at Pack and Picks Up, so it's easier for me to run in the wintertime. But I know most people struggle with running in the wintertime. So how do you kind of keep people motivated to keep running, to stay motivated on with less sunshine, more dreary, cold days?
Yeah, I mean, you're not as much of a social runner. You
Mm-hmm.
tend to just want to run and do your thing. I tend to be more of a social runner. So having the accountability of a group to run with, or even just a person that you're holding each other accountable, you're meeting up, you're setting that time, but also just making it a habit. So having an alarm set every day for the same time, even if it's 4 p.m., that's your run time. But just a reminder, like this is
Mm-hmm.
my time that I get out the door and I go for a run. Is just so helpful because then it's not just like a thing that you're trying to do, but it's actually part of your lifestyle. So
Yeah.
I would say accountability with a group or a friend, and then just making it a habit is helpful.
For you or like your coaching clients, are they starting to look for 2025 races to get motivated for, or different goals as far as wanting to accomplish there? Or is it too far out to start looking at those?
Oh no, for sure. I've got coaching clients that are setting goals by the end of 2025. So they're looking at spring races, summer races, fall races. I mean, if you're wanting to get into Chicago or New York or a major
Mm-hmm.
marathon, like now is the time to be planning for that. So you certainly don't want to be waiting. I know it's easy during holidays to just kind of push that stuff on the back burner, but um, grandma's marathon sold out in 18 hours. So
Yeah.
like if you haven't planned ahead for some of those things, then you're going to miss your window. So I would definitely say be planning now. And of course, like you and I both know, having a goal set for yourself is the number one motivator because you've got a pair of brand new running shoes staring at you and a race that you know you have to complete. So,
What are some of your goals then in 2025
well,
that you're training through for the winter time?
for me,
Mm-hmm.
one of my goals, well, I really want to participate in Damn to DSM this year. So, every year I've been able to be there as a coach or as a vendor, which is just a really fun weekend and a fun experience. But I'm not necessarily looking to go run like a big fast race or a
Mm-hmm.
PR or anything like that, but I would love to just experience it. So that's one of my goals in terms of running. And I think just getting on a really consistent basis of reintroducing a long run into my life. I haven't done a lot of long runs lately. So
Skipping those runs.
yeah, I think I'm ready to dabble in a little bit more, getting back into long distance
Yeah.
running that I did for so many years.
I know. Well, both of us, we went to TRE called the Running Event with running stores and different vendors in Austin, Texas last week. And now Nike gave us some racing shoes. So now I'm like, I got to unretire and race now, apparently. It won't be fast, but maybe get a race in. We'll see.
Yeah, I know. We'll have to follow up on our review of carbon plated shoes because I don't think either of us have ever raced in a super shoe.
We,
So
we used to quit racing as those were coming out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We've spent a lot of time coaching other people and seeing their experiences, but it'll be interesting to see our take on a super shoe.
So you have had bad experiences of dressing for winter running. You want to talk
Yes.
about that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, um, well, Jordan will remember because he had to deal with my pain for so long. So, um, one of the most weird experiences of my running life was getting frostbite. So that itself doesn't sound so uncommon, but the location of my frostbite was just really abnormal. So I was doing an early morning track workout. It was frosty on the track. It was, I think, maybe like 10 degrees at best.
Yeah.
And it was super, super windy. So it was about, gosh, maybe 6 or 7 a.m. It was
Oh, it
early.
was before
It was
that.
dark. I know that. So it was very early.
Well, it was before 7 a.m. classes in college, so it had to be like 5:30.
Yeah, I guess so. It
Yeah.
was probably really, really, really dark and
Yeah.
really cold. And I made the mistake of wearing running tights that were, just kind of at like the normal, either 7/8 or like leg
Yeah.
length, and then wore no cut socks like I have here. And
You
I
always got to
had,
have the tall socks in the
I
winter
know, look
time.
at you, you've got it down. I had this gap on my ankles and just didn't really think about it. And so during that track workout, I could feel like a burning sensation and just assumed it was cold. And, that was exposed skin, just dealt with it. Everything else I was pretty well covered other than probably just like my upper face, but that gets enough body heat. So, yeah, I went back to my apartment, showered, and was like writhing in horrible pain. So I ended up having to go to the athletic trainer and ended up getting frostbite. It turned purple and then it turned red and then it peeled and it scarred for a while. There was like maybe a year or two that it left. You could see little like stripes from where that skin had fallen off. So yeah, socks are super important. Socks are always important.
That exposed skin you don't think about there or like in between
Your
your gloves.
wrists.
That's why those running. Oh, you got it on where you got those
I
finger
know.
things. Like a lot of running jackets have those too, so you can cover up those spots.
Yeah, especially if there's a wind factor. I
Mm-hmm.
think that was really what did me in was the wind. So, if you have that bit of space and you have just like wind constantly kind of running up that fabric, it's just your body can't keep that extremity warm. So
Yeah.
we always think like fingers and toes and ears and nose, right? Little song, fingers, toes, ears, and nose. But we don't necessarily think about those weird little areas that might be exposed, like our neck
Mm-hmm.
or even like our earlobe. We coached
Mm-hmm.
an athlete, Seth, that got frostbite on his earlobe, but even though he had his ears covered. So those are sort of weird areas that we don't always think of. Your lips can frostbite, your eyelids. So it's always really important to be protective.
Well, I know today turkey trots are going to be really cold here in a couple of days, and
Ugh.
so I know today we were looking at the stores of how many people run each turkey trot in each town to have the most gloves, so we can get as many gloves for people.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on that today with pack of pickups coming in because it is going to be a cold turkey trot, but it'll be a fun one. It's always good to get out there and start your Thanksgiving out with a good run.
Yeah, I feel like turkey trots are hit or miss. You're either like 20 degrees and miserable or you're 60 and it's beautiful. There's no middle. You never just get 45.
Maybe one of these years we'll get. Awesome. Any last tips or tricks for winter running for people or as a run coach that they can reach out to you about?
Yeah, I mean, of course, like we talked about accountability as being such an important factor in having a run partner. That may not be practical for you. You can't always find a group to run with or a person to run with, especially 7 days a week. That's a huge commitment for a lot of people, or even 4 or 5 days a week. So, if you're looking for additional winter accountability, having a coach who can sit there and give you your training, follow up with you, encourage you, and hold you accountable to getting those runs done can be just a really positive encouragement during the time that we're low on vitamin D, we're low on motivation, we're low on sunlight, and we're low on warmth.
Yep.
So, yeah, I would highly encourage you to reach out about having a coach be involved in your training.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Run Coach Lindsey, for taking the time today to talk about winter training.
Yeah, happy running, everybody.